Is he here now, Prabhu?
I don't see Mataji. I just messaged him. Maybe if you want to cover, you can cover. If he comes, I'll let you know. Are you available to read, Mataji?
Sure. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridantosti Abhadrani Vidunoti Sahasratam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28, verses 8 through 10. Verse 8. Atmanam kanyaya grastam panchalan aridusitan duranta chintamapano nale bhetat prakritayam. Synonym. Atmanam himself, kanyaya by kala kanya, grastam being embraced. Panchala, Aridustitan, infected by the enemies, Duranta, insurmountable, Chintam, anxiety, Apanna, having obtained, Na, not, Lebe, achieved, Tat, of that, Prakritiyam, counteraction. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When King Puranjan saw that all his family members, relatives, followers, servants, secretaries, and everyone else had turned against him, he certainly became very anxious. But he could not counteract the situation because he was thoroughly overwhelmed by Kalakanya. Purport: when a person becomes weak from the attack of old age, the family members, servants, and secretaries do not care for him. He is then unable to counteract this. Thus, he becomes more and more anxious and laments his frightful condition. Text 9. Kaman abhilashandino yatayamascha kanyaya vigatatmagati sneha putradaram shalalayan. Synonym: Kaman, objects of enjoyment, abhilashan, always lusting after, Dina, the poor man, Yatayaman, stale, Cha, also, Kanyaya, by the influence of Kala Kanya, Vigata, lost, Atmagati, real purpose of life, Sneha, attachment to, Putra, sons, Dharan, wife, Cha, and Lalayan, affectionately maintaining. Translation: the objects of enjoyment became stale by the influence of Kalakanya. Due to the continuance of his lusty desires, King Puranjan became very poor in everything. Thus, he did not understand the aim of life. He was still very affectionate towards his wife and children, and he worried about maintaining them. Purport: this is exactly the position of present civilization. Everyone is engaged in maintaining the body, home, and family. Consequently, everyone becomes confused at the end of life, not knowing what spiritual life and the goal of human life are. In a civilization of sense gratification, there cannot be spiritual life because a person thinks only of this life. Although the next life is a fact, no information is given about it. Text 10. Gandharva yavanakrantam kalakanyopamaditam hatum prachakrame raja tampurim anikamata. Synonym: Gandharva, by the Gandharva soldiers, Yavana, and by the Yavana soldiers, Akranantam, overcome, Kalakanya, by Kalakanya, the daughter of time, Upamarditam, being smashed, Hatum, to give up, Prachakrame, proceeded, Raja, King Puranjana, Tam, that, Purim, the city, Anika Mata, unwilling. Translation: the king of Puranjan, who was overcome by the Gandharva and Yavana soldiers, and although the king had no desire to leave the city, He was circumstantially forced to do so, for it was smashed by Kalakanya. Purport: the living entity, separated from the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, tries to enjoy this material world. He is given a chance to enjoy it in a particular type of body, beginning with the body of a Brahma down to that of a microbe. From the Vedic history of creation, we can understand that the first living creature was Lord Brahma, who created the 7 great sages and other Prajapatis to increase the universal population. Thus, every living entity, according to karma, his past desires and activities, gets a particular type of body, from that of Brahma to that of a microbe or a germ in stool. Due to long association with a particular type of material body, and also due to the grace of Kalakanya and her Maya, one becomes overly attached to a material body, although it is an abode of pain. Even if one tries to separate a worm from stool, the worm will be unwilling to leave. It will return to the stool. Similarly, a hog generally lives in a very filthy state, eating stool, but if one tries to separate it from its condition and give it a nice place, the hog will be unwilling. In this way, if we study each and every living entity, we will find that he will defy offers of a more comfortable position. Although King Puranjan was attacked from all sides, he was unwilling to leave the city. In other words, the living entity, whatever his condition, does not want to give up the body, but he will be forced to give it up because, after all, this material body cannot exist forever. The living entity wishes to enjoy the material world in different ways, and therefore, by nature's law, he is allowed to transmigrate from one body to another, exactly as a person transmigrates from the body of an infant to a child, to a boy, to a youth, to a man. This process is constantly going on. At the last stage, when the gross body becomes old and invalid, the living entity is reluctant to give it up, despite the fact that it is no longer usable. Although material existence and the material body are not comfortable, why does the living entity not want to live? As soon as one gets a material body, he has to work very hard to maintain it. He may engage in different fields of activities, but whatever the case, everyone has to work very hard to maintain the material body. Unfortunately, society has no information of the soul's transmigration because the living entity does not hope to enter the spiritual kingdom of eternal life, bliss, and knowledge. He wants to stick to his present body, even though it may be useless. Consequently, the greatest welfare activity in the material world is the furthering of the Krishna consciousness movement. This movement is giving human society information about the kingdom of God. There is God, there is Krishna, and everyone can return to God and live eternally in bliss and knowledge. A Krishna conscious person is not afraid of giving up the body because his position is always eternal. A Krishna conscious person engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord eternally. Therefore, as long as he lives within the body, he is happy to engage in the loving service of the Lord. When he gives up the body, he is also permanently situated in the service of the Lord. The saintly devotees are always free and liberated, whereas the karmis who have no knowledge of spiritual life or the transcendental loving service of the Lord are very much afraid of giving up the rotten body. Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyate Adesha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for this opportunity that Krishna has given me and all of you have given me today to narrate from these verses for my own purification. And please forgive me for any of my own misinterpretations while speaking on the translation and explanation of these verses. So currently we are in the section of Puranjan story, King Puranjan. And basically, we remember that this is all the narration, all the conversation between Narada Muni and King Prachina Bharishat. And because he didn't want to directly give him all the feedback, like direct feedback, he is using this allegory. And we already saw the allegory. We have been continuing this allegory from the previous chapters. And we remember King Puranjan's story where he is really, he is the emblem of a living entity, a jiva, and his wife was the material intelligence. And we saw how he was completely following the material intelligence. And then what happened is that the body, it was also explained about the city of 9 gates, which is the body. And then at one point, he left his wife, which is his material intelligence, and he went out to the forest to do hunting. And that explained about how a living entity forgets the dharma and everything and goes out to do sinful activities. But then he returned back, and that was demonstrating how a living entity comes back to spiritual consciousness. And then finally, we are continuing with the story where then he passes away and then takes the next life as a woman in this lifetime. But then before all that happens, in this stage right now, the verses that we read right now, it is Srila Prabhupada is really taking home the point. The main thing that stands out over here is understanding the reality of this life. Everybody, we all get so attached to our current situation, the position that we are in. Although we have been reading all these scriptures, right? But it is so easy for us to get lost in this material world. The moment, the very clear, very easy example to narrate is the moment we get to our office and we start looking through our tasks and then projects and this and that. It is so easy to get so engrossed in the day-to-day activities and tasks that it's very easy to forget that all of this is just temporary. And it was, I forget who it was who mentioned that all of this anxiety happens because we take the position of the doer, right? In chapter 3, I believe it's the verse 17, where Krishna says to Arjuna, right? Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa ahankara vimudatma kartahamiti manyate. So the main problem is that there are the 3 things for ahankar, right? For a living entity. They think that they are this body. So everything that exists within the body, they think of that to be themselves. And then they think that they are the doer. Like living entity, we think we are the doer. So we completely negate the presence of Krishna or any other supreme action in it. We think we are the ones who are doing everything. And then thirdly, we also think that we are the enjoyer. So we never think that everything that it is given here is really not ours. There is a limit to how much we can enjoy, or it's all predestined. Our enjoyment, our failures, our fear, our whatever, everything that we go in our lifetime, our experiences are already predestined for us. It is like how, we used to say the ration card in India. Like you are having so much of different articles. All of this is already predestined. It doesn't matter how much ever we try hard, how much ever we do, whatever we do, but whatever has to come in our life will come or not, right? So that's really how it is. And really, as long as we clearly understand that we are not the doer, we are not the enjoyer, but rather Krishna's position, and we are merely just a product of our karma and of our actions, I think that will all really get it all straight about how we are living this life. And then with that, so this is really, in these 3 verses right now, there is a clear contrast between a materialist and a spiritualist, somebody who's that in Krishna consciousness. Because for a materialist, they are so attached to the body. And it was explained about how Kala Kanya is the old age, right? We heard about that. So what is happening is, with old age, the diseases, and that were Kala Kanya's soldiers. So they are all going to come. Everybody, no matter how much ever we resist, we all are going to get old. We are all going to have some kind of illness, either cholesterol or high blood pressure or cardiac or whatever it may be, so it's like all our body systems, organs, everything is slowly starting to deteriorate, and that is like a normal process. And then towards the end, forcefully, we are being taken out of our body. No matter how much we cry, we don't want to leave this body. And that is a city of 9 gates. There's no choice. We have to leave that body. So that situation, right? How we look at it, our perception, a materialist is going to totally be depressed, cry about it, and really be sorrowful about everything that is happening to them. On the contrary, you can look at the person who is completely understanding Krishna consciousness. They will take this as an opportunity really to go further and further deeper into Krishna consciousness. And we also understand that as our age progresses, somebody who's in Krishna consciousness is going to go mature in the spirituality, mature in the relationship with Krishna. So for us, for somebody that's following Krishna consciousness, we take this as a really good opportunity. And for us, death is another opportunity to further advance in our spirituality wherever we are, right? Either we get the next life to follow in the service, or we return back to Godhead, whatever it is, right? We always look at it and we think of this as a further opportunity. So that's really the main comparison between how a materialistic will think versus a spiritualistic will think. And also one other point to think about it, there are lives in different planetary systems. So like in some of the other planetary systems, in the higher planetary systems, there is no old age and all of that, right? But rather quickly, the person will just leave. In comparison to that, definitely the Earth planet is much better, because here what happens is we have that degradation process. So it is like, you can turn off a light switch completely off, or you have a dimmer, right? Slowly you dim it and then it turns off. So that transition phase is always gives everybody a chance, right, to adjust to what is to come. So especially I can just share, right? Like, I know, like my mom is, already like elderly, and she has 2 sisters in India too. They are all in that same age group between 80 to 90 years old. So they are all in that condition right now, where they are elderly, they are ill, they have so many problems going on and all of that. And you are seeing all of this in front of your eyes, right? But again, the consciousness, again, I'm just saying, like, the consciousness between the different sisters is so different. And I can just tell, like, again, I'm not like extra praising or anything, but my mom being in this consciousness, that coming to the temple and listening to the classes and everything, I can tell that her consciousness is so different. Like, she's like, yes, this is our life, whatever is to come, and be completely in Krishna consciousness. And I hear her preaching to her sisters too. So I'm just sharing, like, just like a practical example in front of me to see like how a materialistic things versus how somebody that is following in spirituality, the thought process is so different. And again, I can just wrap up saying that I feel so fortunate to be in association of such a beautiful Sangha in our Phoenix congregation, and back-to-back programs we have with all of this, and helping me keep this in this consciousness, and also, continuing with the journey in Krishna consciousness. And that is why Srila Prabhupada is recommending also that all of this should not be bhaya, right? The bhaya is, we should not all have this fear, because as soon as we turn our face towards Krishna, as soon as we are following all of these philosophies and all of these understanding, the fear of death, the fear of that is not going to be like that at all. Right? Rather, it will be like a welcoming thing and looking forward to another chapter in life. That's how our perspective will be towards death. With that, I would like to end. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for nice impromptu, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Excellent summary.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Beautiful summary.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.